Well, it looks like CA decided that the end of the week was too long to wait. Not only did we get a trailer featuring Cao Cao, one of the main characters in the romanticized version of Three Kingdoms story, we got a blog to go with it. As usual, let's dive right in. The trailer itself didn't really give us anything concrete about the game. It was very much a fluff piece designed to create hype and drama surrounding Cao Cao and the other characters of the time. To be quite fair, the interactions in the trailer, both from the main characters and the soldiers, really brought me back to the Shogun 2 days with their cutscenes. Whether intentional or not, it's a nice sentiment to get me back into the mindset of this part of the world, which is vastly different from its European counterparts. The trailer does give a very romanticized vibe from it all, which I will address about later in the video to the appeal of all genres of Total War fans. I did enjoy the trailer as a whole, and there seems to be some new battle animations, and a few units we did see on the battlefield were definitely unique in armor and weapons, which is always a good sign to see. Moving on to the blog, it's a Q&A session with the game's director, Janos Gasper. And if you haven't read it yet, and you're one of the historical or die Total War fans, I implore you to listen through this first part, as the latter part will cater to you. He starts with the reasoning for the time period, as it's full of drama both politically and on the battlefield. There's rivalries, betrayal, civil war, and conquest, culminating in a perfect time period for Total War. Not just that, it's the personalities in Lu Guanzhong's Romance of the Three Kingdoms that really brings the time period to a larger-than-life perspective, as their narratives are interwoven with each other. This presence of champions is apparently influencing several mechanics and systems in the new game, though we don't get any more detailed than that. That's not to say that there isn't a historical concrete to Three Kingdoms. While the narrative side is drawn from Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the historical side draws from Chen Shu's 3rd century text, Records of the Three Kingdoms, revealing a much more down-to-earth approach to the time period. What does this mean? It means that Creative Assembly is holding themselves to a balance of historical accuracy and cultural authenticity. How are they doing this? Total War Three Kingdoms will release with the more romanticized style by default, but will also have a classic mode, where you will experience the same time period, but with a more pure historical context to it. 2 different modes catering to the 2 main groups of Total War fans. The difference between these 2 modes primarily lies in how iconic your heroes behave on the battlefield. In the romanticized campaign, your heroes are single units that can take on hundreds of soldiers, similar to the Warhammer generals and agents. In the classic mode, they act like historical generals, surrounded by a regiment of bodyguards and much more human. Another way the campaigns will differ is in the event system throughout your campaign. You'll get a much richer narrative from events in Romance, whereas the events you encounter in classic mode will draw more from the historical records of the Three Kingdoms. The fact that Creative Assembly has chosen to take 2 separate modes for Three Kingdoms right off the bat is a very significant point to emphasize. There's been a divide among the Total War community since Warhammer came out, and with the mediocre release of Thrones, no doubt historical fans have felt more than slighted. The trailer CA released in January on Three Kingdoms only served to bring more hesitation that we weren't going to get a true historical title. Now with this revelation on 2 campaign modes, it's clear as day why the Three Kingdoms time period was chosen. This was Creative Assembly's chance to appeal to all fans across the board. Now that this seems possible, it'll come down to the grittier parts of the game, its mechanics, the diplomacy system, and battles to really determine what kind of a game we will get with Three Kingdoms. Thank you for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it regardless of what side of the Total War fence you are on. We will get more info for sure during E3, and hopefully it'll bring more hype to the game. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on to stay up to date with future videos. This is Havoc, and I'll see you in the next one.